Today on VNN Mod Reviews, we're going to be talking about the Half-Life 1 mod, Half-Life Residual Life. Here we go. Half-Life Residual Life is a gold source modification created by South Korean modding team Residual Studios. Now, even though Half-Life Residual Life does take place in the Black Mesa Research Facility during the Residence Cascade, it is not actually another expansion pack type storyline where it's another viewpoint of the same story, but instead it's a reimagining and retelling of the same events. Now, this mod actually has some very high reviews on ModDB, however, I don't completely understand where a lot of these are coming from, as I'm not an enormous fan of this mod. There's a lot of reasons why, and it all comes down to a lot of very small problems adding up to create a very graining and annoying experience. Now, in Half-Life Residual Life, you play as a separate scientist that actually doesn't even wear an HEV suit. You wear one of the radiation suits that you see the scientists wear in Half-Life Opposing Force. And aside from the main character being different and given a little bit of a different backstory, meaning that you are a doctor's assistant and not a doctor themselves, almost everything else from this mod is recycled from the expansion packs and Half-Life itself. There are some added enemies, including the zombie assassin and the invisible assassin, but aside from that, this is pretty much just a Half-Life modification with all of the old assets. The mod is about 2 to 3 hours long, depending on how good you are in very difficult situations, and this starts one of the many problems that I have with this mod. This mod actually has some pretty short levels, but can go on for over 2 hours if you are not that good in combat, as this mod actually takes the old NES tradition of making smaller levels, but lengthening it out by making the enemies incredibly difficult. Not only are all the enemies dealing substantially more damage than what you would find in Half-Life for the expansions, but they are so much easier to find. Enemies are everywhere, even on easy mode. And there are certain points where the game feels like it's just trying to be cheap, so you die multiple times to extend out the gameplay. And let me reiterate, just because the game is longer does not mean it's better than shorter mods. Now, like I said, the majority of the problems that I have with this mod are a lot of very tiny things that add up together to create a very annoying experience. One of those many things is that the opening is incredibly confusing. Now, in the context of the beginning of the game, it might seem like they're setting up a larger story that will be explained at the end of the mod. In fact, the very opening of the game, right when you start it, you see a large portal device actually speaking to you. Throughout the game, this is not explained at all, and the only reason you really stay with the game is because you feel like the confusing opening was going to be justified and explained, and instead, you have one of the worst endings I've ever had in any Half-Life mod that tries to take place in Black Mesa. You may think that it might be one of those dumb endings where it's all a dream, or it's all inside the main character's head, but it's worse than that. I'm not going to spoil it, but believe me, if you stick with the mod till the end, you will be incredibly mad once it ends. So you stick with it to be able to see if these things are justified throughout the mod, but sticking with it can actually be painful. Literally, I got a headache playing this game just for the fact that this is one of the loudest Half-Life games I've ever played. No, it does not mean that if I turn it down, it will get better. I need it to be at the correct volume so I can hear the other characters. The issue is there is so much going on with the audio that it's impossible to concentrate. 1 out of every 3 rooms has an alarm, buzzer, or beeping going off, and the male Vox system never stops talking. Honestly, I have never heard the Vox system become annoying. I love the Vox system because I grew up with it, but this game made me hate the voice. There are sections of this mod where the Vox system will talk for over 2 minutes straight, and it can get irritating. The Vox system, on top of the beeping buzzers and all of the enemies that are coming towards you at once, can cause you to want to take your headphones off, but you can't because of another issue that I have with the game. The game loves to make you wait. Once again, to try and pad out the gameplay time seen within this mod, the game not only makes you wait on every single closed door by doing the dumb thing of pushing the button, it's saying access denied, but then still making you wait through a lot of different beepy noises before the doors actually open.
Access to facility granted.
I just want to push the button and have the door immediately open. Instead, it has you stand there and wait 5 seconds for every door to open. And you want to get out of the rooms because there's alarms and beeping and the Vox. Not to mention, there are many points in the game where it feels like it's guiding you in one direction and you feel like you understand where the game is trying to take you. But when you get to the place that you feel like you're supposed to get to, it's a dead end. So you obviously backtrack to see where you're supposed to go, but then you realize you were supposed to get to that dead end and then backtrack, as when when you get back, more enemies spawn, so you know this was the way the game was designed. This back and forth level design is not only irritating, but can actually cause problems, as the majority of the levels feel like total mazes. There was one part in particular during this game where it was a very large circle, and I felt like I didn't know where I was going only because the entrance and exit to this circle maze were identical. So when I found the place that was the exit, I thought I just looped around and I didn't actually find where I needed to go. And keep in mind, the buzzers are still going off, the enemies are still spawning like crazy, and you still are listening to the Vox system. So yes, the confusing but still intriguing beginning is not justified. Not only are some of the scientists acting really weird and some of the environments make absolutely no sense, but the absolute very beginning where you listen to this very interesting teleport preach to you about how things are mysterious and then it never be answered even though you put up with one of the most annoying campaigns to be able to get one of those answers is very maddening. And unfortunately, that's how the mod works. There are certain points in this game where you can tell that a lot of detail was put into the level design, and the actual environments and the way that the game looks is incredible. It's really well done and it looks just like what you would expect Black Mesa to be. But after a while, that detail dies out and it's just gray corridors, maze-like architecture, and very, very loud rooms. It may look nice, but it's not a fun game to play. But anyways, that was my review on Half-Life Residual Life. Thanks for watching, guys. As you know, I'm Tyler McVicker. If you like this video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. Leave a comment if you want to leave me a complaint or a comment related to this video, and if you want to support it, check out the link down in the description to my Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Adios.